I would consider him to be almost a Renaissance man.
A very good mentor indeed, and one who was able to do it with a very light touch.
Well, the first thing is you go to Brooke, and more often than not, he has the answer.
Brooke was just one nice guy.
It is a rite of passage, a tradition going back decades. Entering freshmen walking through the columns to begin a new life of learning at Westminster College. And since the late 1950s, the four buildings of the Quad have been their home. At the recommendation of President Larry Davidson, the Quad buildings were named in recognition of four of Westminster's most prominent and long-tenured professors, Doctors John Scott, John Rice, Danny Gage, and Edgar Marcus. In the fall of 2008, a fifth residence hall was opened, and with it, an opportunity to honor yet another of Westminster's academic giants, Dr. F. Brooke Sloss.
Well, it started actually, surprisingly, with a call from former President Harvey Saunders, who said he understood there was a new dormitory being built, and he said, well, I think that building should be named for Brooke Sloss, and I will get this started with a gift of $50,000 and hope that others then will follow through.
But just who was this man who fostered such passion, dedication, loyalty, and love from all those who came to know him? As a young man from Webster Groves, Missouri, Brooke Sloss joined his classmates as they, too, walked through the columns as new students in 1934. So began a 66-year love affair with Westminster that lasted until Brooke's death in 2000. Aside from a stint in the Navy during World War II, Brooke's service to Westminster was unbroken and arguably unsurpassed in commitment. Brooke was a brilliant math professor, dedicated dean of faculty, dean of men, and a talented tennis coach. He was also a mentor, colleague, friend, and devoted family man. In the classroom, Brooke had that special touch.
He also had that knack of helping the average student, or even the below average student, to really get through college algebra or to handle the astronomy class that he taught during short term. He just had the ability to get the best out of every student.
And was what I considered to be a professor who had almost had a calling to teach.
Brooke Sloss made my career in graduate school easy. My entering students that I went in with were many of them were from places like Caltech, MIT, Harvard. I knew a lot more math than they did. And math is what made it graduate school a breeze for me, what I learned from Brooke Sloss.
Brooke had that special touch.
Another gentleman that graduated in the early 80s who was a math major needed one more class to graduate. They met in the college inn. My dad jotted down formulas on napkins, and as this gentleman said, it was the only time that he knew that perfect attendance and homework were not an option because, well, he was only a student.
With his fellow faculty, he was a mentor, somewhat of an enigma, and a fun guy to have around.
He was one of those people you never wanted to play any quiz game with because he always would come up with the answers regardless of what the topic might be.
I can remember for several years, Brooke Sloss, John Page, and I wrote skits for the quite elaborate then Christmas dinners. And generally what we would do is we would go over to Brooke's house, we would sit around his kitchen table. There might have been a bottle of scotch in the center of the kitchen table, and we would write for hours, entertaining ourselves wonderfully.
His basic unit of organization was the stack. They were piles more often than stacks. And they occupied almost every flat surface in his office. What I soon came to learn was that the stack system worked very well for him.
It was always interesting to watch him at faculty meeting, and then he would seemingly doze off until someone asked a question or made a statement that he didn't agree with or something. He was wide awake.
What may surprise some who knew this very distinguished man is that Brooke had a very healthy, if somewhat dry, sense of humor.
He and Russ Jones and a couple of other people had a barbershop quartet that they spun off the Presbyterian church choir. One time I came back from vacation and Russ Jones, he and Brooke had gotten together and they were trying to trade me to the Methodists for a really good tenor.
Well, I guess about 1956 when Willie and I were married, Willie was traveling in Europe with a friend of hers named Beth Whalen, and Willie had purchased a VW, and we met Brooke and myself in Paris, I think it was, and we rolled the top down, and Sloss and I were sitting on the back of the VW, and we were driving down the Champs-Elysees, and Sloss and I were doing, you know, like the Pope, blessing the onlookers, so to speak. Oh, God.
A confirmed bachelor well into his 50s, Brooke finally met the love of his life, Martha Wortman, and they married in 1971. Brooke became father to Martha's 3 sons, Evan, Brian, and Mike, and daughter Carrie, all of whom he adopted. Then in 1972, Brooke Jr. was born. Despite his late start in parenting, Brooke was known as a loving and a caring family man.
Here's a man in his 50s taking on 4 children and then another one, and was absolutely a role model of a father for these young people. And working with Martha, they raised 5 great kids.
Not surprisingly, Brooke's influence at home and at school had a profound impact on his students after they graduated. Now we have the opportunity and privilege to not only recognize Brooke, but more importantly, help to ensure that the living and learning environment that he helped to establish at Westminster will continue and grow. Naming the new North Residence Hall is a fitting tribute to a great man. Constructed to house Westminster's expanding student population, the North Residence Hall is a state-of-the-art facility providing 9 living suites and 36 individual rooms.
Hey! What you doing?
Each room is home to 2 Westminster freshmen. The building provides wireless internet connection, laundry facilities, a kitchen, a large common area, and a balcony featuring one of the best views on campus. Those who contribute to the Sloss campaign will be investing in the future of the college. Funds will provide institutional scholarships, purchase books and laboratory equipment, and support numerous student life activities. In recognition of generous gifts and pledges at various levels, the college will be honored to associate the donor's name or name of his or her choosing with a room, suite, or common area in the building. Please join us as we say, thanks, Brooke, for a job well done.
I would suspect or think that any alum, knowing that this would be a possibility, would be absolutely supportive of making a gift in Brooke's honor.
Well, I don't think there's any question that that's a really appropriate sort of thing to do. I really would like to see that. And in fact, I'm planning to make a contribution in that direction. So,
All I can say is I think it's an appropriate gesture, and I hope that others will agree and support the campaign.
Oh, it's I think for the whole family, it's a tremendous source of pride. We were very touched, and it pretty much means the world.